Hello, Zuko here. I'm covered in dog hair, and I can't tell if you can tell. Over to my right, I have all the books that I read in the months of July and August, I believe. There are 20 physical books here, as well as the books that I read not as physical books, or that I don't own. So let's jump right into it, I suppose. So the first book I read was Soarland by Rivers Solomon. I don't know how to describe this book other than it is a weird cult book that includes body horror. I liked it well enough. I gave it about 3.54 stars. I always feel like Rivers Solomon's books are lost on me a little bit and that I don't get as much out of them as I could. But yeah. Next, I read Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee. So this is an Illumicrate book, which is the only reason I have it because I pretty much only pick up queer books at this point. But I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It just felt, other people have said it better than I can. This book is marketed as a heist book. It is some Chinese American college students who are going around museums around the world to steal back some specific artifacts that these museums have stolen from China. Now this is marketed as a heist book, but it is more like a character study on these kids who are involved in these heists, and I just wanted more heist out of this book, and it didn't deliver. I did give it like a 3.5 because I did like it well enough, but it wasn't like a favorite. Then I read The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie Oh. This is an Asian-inspired fantasy about a woman who falls beneath the sea to look for a god, I believe. I don't really remember, but I really liked the vibes of this book. This is the Fairyloot edition, which is why I have this. Again, not queer, so I wouldn't have picked it up on my own. This book had Ghibli vibes, and I enjoyed it. I liked the descriptions of things. I give this 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. And this is just like a little cute D&D inspired, like, I guess, lit RPG book that is just this like cute book about an orc woman who decides that she wants to bring coffee from the Gnomish lands to, I don't know, some small town, and she makes that happen, and it's just super cute, and I loved it. It was 5 stars. Then I read What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I really liked this book. This was a weird mushroom horror book, I suppose, and I recently read another book by T. Kingfisher, Nettle and Bone, which I really loved, so I was really excited when I realized I had pre-ordered this one without ever having read a T. Kingfisher book. I was pleasantly surprised, and yeah, this was a 4 to 5 stars. It's just a short little novella, so it's a quick read. Then I read So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lukens, and I liked this book more than In Deeper Waters, I guess, but at the same time it felt like this story started like at the climax of the book, and then like it's just really not it for, I don't know. F.T. Lukens books are really like slice of life contemporary romance, but like in a fantasy setting, and it never masks the fact that it is a contemporary romance at the heart of it, which I don't like. And I keep buying their books because these covers are so beautiful, and I keep not enjoying them because the stories are so boring. Anyway, I'm gonna pre-order Spellbound and see how I like that one. That was a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Then I have Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. This is a trans horror novel about a cult at the end of the world. This is like a virus apocalypse book and body horror, and I loved this book. It was so good. I gave it like a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I highly recommend it if you like body horror. Then I read An Arrow to the Moon by Emily X.R. Pan. I guess this was supposed to be like an Asian-inspired Romeo and Juliet retelling, ? I don't really remember anything about it because it was pretty much a contemporary romance book again. I just don't care about romance books, but I got this in, I don't know, a Fairyloot or Illumicrate box, and I don't like paperback books. So I read this so that I can pass this along. This was a 2.5 star read. Then I read The Devouring Wolf by Natalie C. Parker. This is the first book in a middle grade series about some teenagers or tweens. I think they maybe are 12. And by this time they are supposed to have found their werewolf form and formed a pack, but the main character hasn't become a werewolf yet, and they realize that maybe there is something nefarious going on. And I really enjoyed this. I thought it was super cute and very fun and a fast read. I don't usually pick up middle grade. This is like a 3.5 star read. Then I read Anxious People by Frederick Bachman, and I don't have my physical copy here because my mom is reading at the moment because I liked it a lot. So I lent it to her. This is I don't even know how to explain this book. This book is a love story without being a romance. This is a book about love, and I loved it. And it was a 5-star read. So yeah. Then I read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, just like everybody else on earth has. And fuck, dude. That was a thing that I think must have been so hard to write and then start to show people. And I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read It's Not What It Looks Like by Molly Burke. Molly is a YouTuber here, and they wrote an audiobook with Audible. I thought that was really cool. I liked it. It was a 5-star read. Then I read Out of the Blue by Jason June. This was a queer mermaid book. There was just like a lot of talk about how sexy thighs were, and that was weird to me because I've never experienced anything so thigh fetishy before. I didn't really like it. It was too horny. It was really like meh. I really like this cover though. Anyway, this was like a 2.5 star. Next, I read A World Without You by Beth Revis. This is a book about a boy who is convinced that he can travel back in time, and he believes that he has left one of his classmates and the girl that he has feelings for back in time, while everybody else is convinced that she has killed herself. And this is all set at a school for kids who have really specific like mental illness struggles. I enjoyed this book. I thought it was well done. I didn't think it was super like demonizing of mental illness, so that was cool. I gave this like a 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read A Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Bowley, and I had this on my fantasy shelf because for some reason I was like convinced this was a African inspired fantasy book, and this is an indigenous story about Anishinaabe, Ojibwe people, and the way that things affect their communities, the way that a drug outbreak can affect their community. And we follow a young woman who is kind of stuck at the center of trying to figure out who is behind selling a version of meth that is more addictive and causes weird trips. And I read the like summary on Goodreads and I was like, oh, this is not even like a little bit an African-inspired fantasy. This actually sounds really good. So go look at the Goodreads summary instead of trusting my explanation for it. And then I read it right away. It was originally going to be on my September TBR. I had to read it right away once I knew what it was. That was a 5-star read, or 4.5. Then I read The Book of Extraordinary Deaths by Cecilia Roos. This is just like a quick little book where each like page just tells you how somebody died. Sir Arthur Aston, a royalist commander during the siege of Drogheda, was beaten to death with his own wooden leg by parliamentarian soldiers. And then there's a little picture. And that was fun. I think this book did exactly what it set out to do, so I gave it 5 stars. Then I read The Dispatcher by John Scalzi. This is an Audible original, I believe, short story. I guess it would be like a novella series. And it is set in a world where people who are specifically murdered come back to life. Like they wake up in their bed naked, but like fine afterwards. There's like a 1% chance that maybe you don't and you just are dead. But most people, if they are murdered, they come back. And so there are people who are hired as dispatchers to go to like hospitals and stuff when there's risky surgery, so that if anything goes wrong, they can dispatch the person so that it technically counted as a murder, so that they wake up and everything's fine and the doctor isn't liable for medical malpractice or anything. There is a suspicious disappearance of a dispatcher. So the main character, who is a dispatcher himself, is kind of set into detective work. I really enjoyed this and I gave it 5 stars. So then I read the sequel, which is Murder by Other Means by John Scalzi. I like this one, but not as much. This was a 4-ish star read. Then I read A Gift for a Ghost by Borja Gonzalez. And I didn't like anything about this book, except this drawing of a skeleton. I'm a big fan of this skeleton. That's it. That's my feelings on this book. It was a 2-star read. I don't know what it was about. Then I read Cult Classic by Sloane Cosley. This is a book about a woman who starts to she sees one of her exes, and then the next night she sees another one of her exes, and she's like, this is fucking weird, because she keeps seeing her exes everywhere. And there's like a mystery surrounding that. This was like kind of fun. I don't know. I didn't hate reading it. I gave this a 3 or 5 stars. Then I read The Mystery of the Exploding Teeth and Other Curiosities from the History of Medicine by Thomas Morris. This is just an account of weird medical bullshit that doctors did back in the day. It's fine. I give it a 3 star. I don't like short fiction, and this was a bunch of stories. So this got really boring really fast. But like, the book was good. The problem is I don't like short fiction. It's not a problem with the book, you know? Then I read The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. This is a YA horror book set at a summer camp where the main character has returned after a very ungraceful departure many years prior. They are returning to this summer camp to try and get close to the people who knew his sister before she died. So yeah, I really like this book and I recommend it. But if you don't like body horror, maybe this isn't the book for you. But I feel like this body horror is a lot more tame than In Hell Falls With Us. So yeah, also this cover is beautiful. That was a 5-star read, or 4.5 out of 5. Then I read Surrender Your Sons by Adam Sass. I really wanted to like this book. Like, I had pre-ordered it, but then it was like super out of stock because of supply chain issues at the time, I think. So I never got my copy. And I finally just had a chance to listen to the audiobook, and I did. And the narrator was really bad. They were doing like a peppy southern podcaster voice the whole time for the narration and not just like talking. And it just set you out of the story. Like, bad things are happening, but like the narrator sounds like a peppy farmer, so it's fine. And you're just like, this narrator is bad. And it didn't fit the story, and I hated it. And also the story is like very dramatic, but takes place over like 48 hours, and I hated that as well, because it just made all of the relationships in the book feel like really superficial because they'd known each other for maybe a day. I didn't like that. So this book was a letdown. It's like a 2.5 out of 5 stars, maybe a 2. I'm so sorry. Then I read The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy and Other Stories by Tim Burton. I don't know what I expected. This is like a really like, oh my god, look at me, edgy book of like bad poetry about like fucked up kids, I guess. Like, here, let me find just one. Stick Boy's festive season. Stick Boy noticed that his Christmas tree looked healthier than he did. And it's like, you put that in a book. You made that little picture and you published it, and it was not worth it, but okay. So yeah, I should have expected that it was not going to be my taste, because I'm not OMG so edgy, but it was a 2-star read. Goodbye. Oh, I missed Feel Good 101 by Emma Blackery. This is just a generic YouTuber book about their life, and then they give you some advice that's pretty generic and you could have gotten from anybody, and it's a 3-star. It's a 3-star because I think I've read it 4 times now. And then I DNF'd 2 books. The first one being We All Fall Down by Rose Zabo. I do plan on finishing this. This was an Illumicrate book. I was not going to keep my copy because I had pre-ordered it, but then I heard meh things about it. But because I own it, I do want to actually finish it. But I just lost all my motivation to pick it up, so I stopped trying to pick it up. And then I DNF'd the Cimarelli Sisters Believe in You Big Sister Stories and Advice on Living Your Best Life by Christina, Catherine, Lisa, Amy, Lauren, and Danny Cimarelli. I knew this was also going to be just like generic advice, but chapter 2 was about God, and I just thought this was like unbearable. I knew they were like Catholic, but fuck. I couldn't do it, so I had to DNF. I'm debating on like, does this go to my used bookstore or does it go to the public school library system? Like, on one hand, I think we should keep religion out of schools. On the other hand, that doesn't mean there aren't going to be Catholic kids at the schools who maybe want a book from the perspective of Catholic women who are giving life advice instead of just, agnostic women, I guess. I don't know. So, on the fence about that. Let me know down below, I suppose. So yeah. Oh, and I did just read the short story, What We Did While You Were Gone by Rory Power. This was a pre-order bonus for Burn Our Bodies Down. That was a 20-something page story pre-Wilder Girls from Reese's perspective, I think. I just read this and it was like, meh. I don't remember Wilder Girls. I gave it like a 2-star specifically because I'm still so mad that Wilder Girls had so much potential and I hated it because it looked at all of its potential and shoved it off the table and just put a big pile of garbage on the table instead and started rolling around in it. So my feelings on Wilder Girls, in case you were wondering. Anyway, yeah, currently I am reading Summer Suns by Lee Mandello, and I'm almost halfway through it, and I'm enjoying it, I guess. I don't know. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this book. So, can I pick these up? Oh my god, these are all of the books that I read in August and July. As always, I am glad to have read them, even if I didn't love them, because it means I get to pass them on. Now, if you're wondering, because I usually do this, these are all of the books that I plan on keeping this month. That is 2, 4, 6, 8 books out of the however many I read. 20-ish, I guess. 30 maybe? These are all the books that I'm not planning on keeping. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 9 books. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. I like to think anyway. Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you whenever I do my next one.